Good evening and good day to you all. I think we're going to start. My name is Fatma Basha, and on behalf of the EAGE local chapter in Kuwait committee members, I would like to thank you all for attending our first technical session. So I'm going to introduce our speaker for today, whom I've had the privilege to learn from and to work with for a few years. Dr. Agus Abdallah. Dr. Agus Abdallah, he received his bachelor's and master's degrees in geophysics from Institute Technology Bandung. He received his PhD in earth sciences from the Australian National University. He's been awarded as the best student of geophysical and engineering. And he received the Australian Research Council grant. As for his experience, he has more than 20 years of experience in oil industry, performing various geophysical tasks. He worked in seismic processing in Kuwait Oil Company and ExxonMobil, and he worked as a geophysical associate at ExxonMobil as well. Currently, he's a lecturer in the Pertamina University, and he's working as a consultant for oil companies as well. So besides seismic imaging, tomography, and seismic inversion, one of his main interests is the implementation of artificial intelligence in oil and gas industry. And that's what leads us to our session today. So now I think Dr. Agus will take the lead and we'll start the session.
Okay, thank you, Fatma. Good evening, everyone. I would like to share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen now, Fatma?
Yes, you can start.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me. It is kind of relief, yeah, to see you again. I really miss Kuwait, to be honest. And hopefully tonight you will be benefited from what we have done here in Indonesia in regard to the implementation of machine learning in geosciences. This is an example of implementation of machine learning in reservoir characterization. To be precise, this is an effort to predict one of the property, which is porosity. On the left-hand side, you can see the target porosity in the blue curve, and the red curve is the predicted one over iterations. If we can predict in one trace, certainly we can predict in one section. If we can predict in one section, we can predict in one volume. So, and as outcome, we can have like one porosity cube. And there are numerous of implementation we have test in our research and also in our project, including seismic imaging. If you see this image here, it is very poor data quality. We cannot see structure very confident, and everyone is challenging to see the property of the subsurface of the feature or the features of the subsurface. But when we implement machine learning to enhance our data set, to reconstruct what is the subsurface look like, now we can see quite significant amount of differences. So this one is before and this one is after enhancement using deep learning. And also, this is another example of the implementation of machine learning to predict well log. Yeah. In this example, I don't have P-wave or sonic log. And if we see here the comparison between the conventional way of predicting P-wave using Gardner, for example, we see Gardner is quite far from the actual log, which is in blue curve. But if we see machine learning, we can have very nice and accurate prediction. As you see here, there is no significant amount of difference between the blue curve and the red curve. And I would in this afternoon, I have some topics to cover. The first is how we implement machine learning to predict missing log segment, and the second is to predict new logs. And the third is how we implement machine learning for vectorization and seismic enhancement. And number four is we can also implement machine learning to correct NMO stretch, well tie, and seismic merging. And the most important thing is we are excited to share the implementation of machine learning to predict reservoir properties, including fluid indicator. And also we can demonstrate machine learning to predict fault and also automation to perform horizon interpretation. And also we can share data denoising for micro-earthquake dataset and also some motivation in regard of utilization of Python and free framework that can benefit us. If you are talking about machine learning, actually First Break journal has published a special edition in regard to machine learning, and we can see there are a lot of utilization in geosciences, yeah, including seismic enhancement, reservoir characterization, facies prediction, horizon prediction, well log, and so forth. Well, let's go back to the basic. Yeah. If we are talking about learning, what is learning? What is machine learning? Learning is actually predicting the future for a given data set, for a given the past. So we have to have a data set first that can predict what is the future look like. And the second is learning is getting better with practice. Certainly, data set algorithm will have a better algorithm after they can understand the existing data set. So if we are talking about machine learning, what is machine learning? Actually, machine learning is the subfield of the AI or new capability for computer. And also, machine learning is about getting computers to do types of things people are good at. So actually, machine learning can replace, in the quotation mark, expert capability to do by itself. Certainly, after the expert teach the algorithm to do what they are doing. So there are several methods of machine learning. I classify into three big segments. The first is supervised, the second is unsupervised, and the third is deep learning itself. So here is algorithm that can be used as a geophysicist. K-nearest neighbor, yeah, is very straightforward to be used. maybe linear regression is very naive, but it's still useful. Support vector machine is very powerful, but it takes quite a lot of memory, in terms of computation. And the most powerful one is the neural network. And to be honest, I'm quite rare to use unsupervised. But some colleagues in our university utilize unsupervised, including PCA and cluster K-means to support their geological tasks. And now we will see how is the implementation of machine learning in geosciences. The first is we can utilize machine learning to predict well log. In this example, this is the implementation of several algorithms to predict P wave. And this one is the comparison between the predicted and the actual P wave. So we can see quite nice agreement, in terms of the majority of the data set is fall on the similar values. Certainly, we have some error. We cannot avoid the error especially in high frequency content. And this one is for the example of two wells in plastic environment. And if we see cross plot, we see a very nice correlation coefficient, up to 97%. And if we see the comparison between the existing software, for example, the existing one is emerge. If we compare with machine learning, we see here machine learning has a superior prediction, compared to the existing software or conventional method of prediction. And this one is the implementation of INN, to predict missing log. For example, we have some measurement here from the shallow to the intermediate depth, and suddenly we have a problem here. We miss a log, and we can continue the measurement. So we can use the algorithm to predict how is the missing log look like. So this one is the example of the missing log prediction. And also we can use machine learning to edit noisy log, including a spike or casing shoe or any problem in the well log, so like this one. So we can minimize the spike noises in the data set, in the logs. So we can have quite nice and clean well log right now. And this one is the one that I used in the previous example for seismic enhancement. I utilize convolutional neural network, to enhance data set. The idea is similar to what computer vision done, for enhancing images like this one. So if we have a data set on the top with noise level with a certain percentage, so now we can have a very nice and very clean image on the bottom, like number 2 here, number 8, number 5, number 7. So now in the bottom we can have relatively very clean and good quality image. So with the same algorithm, we implement two data set, very bad data set like this one, very poor. So now we can reconstruct what is the subsurface look like with the same method. Actually, what machine learning doing is we train the algorithm. So if we have such features and behavior, it must be like the target with the clean images. And also, I tried to get my old textbook. Yeah, I scan it. I have the Wiggle plot like on the first JPEG, and then I convert using machine learning to have Segway dataset. Then I enhance using machine learning. Now we can have very nice and beautiful dataset with relatively high signal to noise ratio. So what we are doing actually, what computer understand is RGB, yeah, red, green, blue, like this one. So if we have like a JPEG or PNG dataset, if we read using a computer or Python, for example, computer only understand three channels, yeah, like red, green, blue. So we have rows and we have columns. Certainly, if we see seismic section, columns mean rows mean samples, or columns mean trace number. So we can digitize our data set, yeah, into red, green, blue. Then we see the comparison, yeah, in the color scale. We can divide the color scale, the similar color scale that used by this image, and convert into RGB as well. Then we can compare the RGB values falls in what level of amplitude. For example, here, if we have, for example, pixel number 1, like this one, the black one here, I have 0.392, 0.169, 0.306. For example, it falls here in three axes, yeah, red, green, blue. Then we have here red, green, blue for every points. Then we measure the distance, yeah, the RGB distance between my pixel with the database. Then I have the nearest distance. For example, here I use KNN, which means how many neighbors. In this case, I have 4 neighbors, like 1, 2, 3, 4. That fall within the certain radius. Then in the four radius, in the 4 points, I have to check how many occurrence I have with the same color. So that's why I can have this color is very close to certain amplitude. And also a similar way of deep learning. In this case, we implement ANN, yeah, ANN, artificial neural network, to predict the amplitude. If we have RGB for every samples, and also we have amplitude as our target, we can train my data set to have some parameters. In this case, we have weighting that can match the known amplitude. And this kind of process is done iteratively until we have a very minimum error. So this is an example of dataset, JPEG datasets from West Africa. We have color density dataset with high quality JPEG, and we convert into Segway. Now we can see reasonable comparison, yeah, except we lost some high frequency, and certainly we can increase the resolution by increasing the JPEG resolution. Once we have Segway, certainly we can extract, we can have other attributes, yeah, including reflection strength, instantaneous phase. We can get a sweetness. We can pick horizon, flattening, and unflattening. And amazingly, KNN works very well. It's working very well for every kind of data set. For example, for color density, the one that I just demonstrated, and also for a grayscale, it works very well, and also for wiggle plots. And also we can help. Yeah, I remember when I worked with Fatma at KOC, we have to pick a first break. Yeah, very takes time. Yeah. I remember I have to pick like 110 2D lines, yeah, offshore. It takes about months, yeah, to finish it. But now using machine learning, like this one, we can predict the first break with a reasonable amount of time. Maybe not months, maybe we can finish in hours or days, yeah, with QC. So actually, there are a lot of benefits, yeah, of machine learning that we can implement in our field. And here is an example of correction for NMO stretch. Like certainly, if we have gathers, yeah, after move out, especially in the shallow, we have quite significant amount of NMO stretch. So we can fix it by using machine learning. So this one is before, and this one is after move out NMO stretch correction. So what we are doing in NMO stretch correction, we are using a technique called dynamic time warping. Yeah, similar to what we are doing in Google for searching any kind of information using our voice. So Google will translate our voice into spectrum domain, and then they use a dynamic time warping to see similarity between our voice and the database. Once we can have NMO stretch, also we can implement in the WellTie, yeah, to automate to make it more robust and more automatic. And this one is also the implementation of dynamic time warping, yeah, to merge two 3D dataset. Like here, for example, I have red block, yeah, and also the blue block, block here, two different data set, and we have quite different inline orientation, yeah, with also the CMP distribution also quite different. Like this one, the red one and the blue one has different orientation and different CMP interval. If we use conventional way of merging, we will have this kind of abrupt change, yeah, because we just cut where they meet. But we can use machine learning to massage it, yeah, to fix it. Now we can have very smooth and quiet, seamless, yeah, seamless meeting point between the left side and the right side. And also here in the cross-line direction, we can see a very clear difference, yeah, between block on the left and on the right. But after we implement machine learning, yeah, or dynamic time warping, we can have now very nice transition. And also here, if we see in the time slice, yeah, before we can see the difference, yeah, between the left side and the right side, and now it's almost yeah, quite difficult to find where is the meeting point, unless we can recognize by the difference in terms of frequency. But at the first time we see this slice, we cannot see quite clear where is the meeting point. So now I would like to move to reservoir characterization. In the beginning, I have demonstrated the use of ANN, yeah, to predict porosity, yeah, in this case. So what we are doing, we have attributes. Yeah, we have to have several inputs. Like in our case, maybe we have to have near, mid, far, ultra far, or maybe other attributes. Yeah, that can be used as an input. And then we have to have target. Our target is not only porosity. Yeah, we can try other rock properties, yeah, including resistivity. Yeah, in this case is ILD. So we can use similar way of predicting porosity to predict other reservoir properties, yeah, such as gamma ray or visual or water saturation, yeah, including water saturation and ILD. So I just skip this one. So I will move to the one that hopefully can boost our prediction. So once we have seismic data, we have to have attributes. Yeah, we can use instantaneous attributes, or we can use angle stack dataset. Then we have to have target log. What is our target log? For example, our target is porosity. Our target is gamma ray. Our target is resistivity. So we have to create an operator that can match our input with our target. So once we have an operator, we can perform convolution to create shape attributes. So we can use shape attributes to predict our property. So here is the difference. If we only use the existing attributes, for instance, VARs. VARs is quite popular, yeah, to be used as an indicator of fluid. So this one is a comparison between VAR and water saturation. So here is the request of one of my client. They don't want to search for lithology because sandstone is everywhere. They want to find oil. So I tried to predict, yeah, water saturation cube from whatever data set they have. So this is an example. If we only use VAR to predict water saturation, we cannot see any similarity. Yeah, if we check the correlation is only 20%. So if we use shape attributes, the correlation is increasing up to 70%. Yeah, more than 70%. So if we see here, if water saturation is low, we will have a water shape VAR. If water saturation is high, we also have quite similar. Yeah, it's going high as well in shape VAR. So the correlation is increasing. So what we are doing, we create operator. This operator is convolved with the VAR to have shape VAR. So we can use shape VAR, shape nears, shape mids, or shape ultra VARs to predict water saturation. So this is an illustration. Once we have nears, that certainly we have to precon first, nears, mids, and fars. So we will have operator, yeah, for nears, for fars, for intercept, for gradient, for A plus B, and we will have a near shape, far shape, intercept shape, gradient, and A plus B shape. And also we can see the correlation, yeah, the pair plots between attributes and our target. If we see here, the correlation is the behavior is more convergent if we use shape attributes. You can see quite clear here in the confusion matrix. Yeah, if you are using machine learning, if you work with machine learning, you have to have confusion matrix to measure how similar between your input and your target. So we see here, if the color is getting blue, is bluish, yeah, you have very nice correlation. Like here, in the near shape, far shape, intercept, gradient shape, and A plus B, they have quite nice correlation coefficient, yeah, like more than 70% compared to the conventional data set, yeah, the input itself, like near, far, A, B, and A plus B is fall below 60% actually. So once we can predict porosity like this one, so we can have shell volume. So this is a comparison between predicted cell volume with the actual one. So we see here the correlation is very nice in the well location, and certainly we can check in the section, yeah. So we hope that the one that we predict here also yeah, sounds, yeah, in different place, so we that can assist geoscientists to predict reservoir with very good quality like this one. And also here is the implementation of ANN to predict water saturation. So the blue one here is the water saturation in the well location, and the red one is the water saturation, the predicted one. So this one is the comparison at the well location. So we hope that the one with the red color is the one that we have a sweet spot. Yeah, certainly we can use other data set to confirm if our prediction is sounds or accurate. So we can compare with other properties like porosity, gamma ray, as well as other geological information to confirm our cubes. So once we have cubes, so we can evaluate other properties, yeah, like in this example we have produced ELD cube, yeah, like resistivity cube, gamma ray cube, porosity cube, and cell potential cube. And also we can mix, yeah, among those properties to predict like SX or water saturation with certain formula that we have. So this is the comparison between AI and the conventional way, yeah, of inversion. In this case is in predicting porosity. Like here we have porosity log, yeah, in the black curve, and in the background is the color of porosity. The reddish is the high porosity, and the bluish is low porosity. If we have high porosity in the well, so we have red here. If we have low, we have blue, and so forth. So we see here the correlation is quite nice, yeah. Here in the well location we have green, we have low, but in the anticline here we have very nice porosity. If we see in machine learning, yeah, the result of machine learning is similar. So here in the well location we have green, we have red in the anticline, we have high in the high porosity. Here we have red, and so forth. So what is the superior of AI compared to a conventional way of inversion? First, we can predict outside of horizon. Yeah, because in a conventional way, we have to have horizon to distribute our low frequency information, yeah, that falls within the well. In AI, we can predict outside our horizon because we don't use horizon actually. We only use the behavior of wiggle. We only use the behavior of wavelet, the data set to predict the property that we targeted. So this is the blind test, yeah, in area in the classic environment in Sumatra. It's very small oil company operating this block. So we have very nice water saturation. Water saturation here in red. So it has proven, yeah, it has proved that we have hydrocarbon here. Also, we have in the different place, like here we have red. Also, from the well, we can see a very nice correlation with the well information. So I will move to the use of machine learning for predicting fault. Yeah, as an interpreter, predicting fault is very time consuming and boring. Yeah, especially if we have very complex area, lot of faults with micro faults. So we can automate it using machine learning to train the data set with fault, yeah, like this one. So now on the left side here is an example of predicting of synthetic data set, and here we have missed, yeah, our prediction because here is the edge, but certainly at the in the end result we can filter the result, yeah, with a certain degree of threshold. And also here we can see very nice fault, yeah, like here, very big. So machine learning can predict it very well. Like here, the small one, yeah. But also it has some noise, yeah, some failure to predict. But still, we can filter it in the result, yeah. Compared to the conventional way of predicting fault like NTRK, I think machine learning is demonstrating very superior result, yeah. Like here, for example, NTRK is very fail to predict fault like this body here. It is not fault; it's actually event, yeah. If you see here, also quite similar, yeah. But here maybe we see there is not quite a clear fault, yeah. Similar here, but the majority, yeah, we can see the major event is very well predicted using CNN. If you see in the time slice, yeah, CNN showing superior result compared to the conventional way of NTRK. Now I would like to demonstrate the work that I have done about 2 weeks ago. I have some challenge from my client. They want to utilize machine learning for predicting FAO classes, yeah. But on the way to predicting FAO classes, they have to predict the reservoir extension. For mapping reservoir extension, we have to have quite accurate horizon interpretation tools. So we utilize the way Moore neighborhood done, yeah. If we have seed point like this one in the center, we can predict, yeah, the outer point in 3D space, yeah, X, Y, Z, until we reach the edge of our cube. So what we are doing, we have tested several way of predicting horizon, including trace to trace comparison. If we use trace to trace comparison, it is the success rate is very low. Yeah, it's not quite good. So we have to teach machine learning to think what geologists think. So what what geologists think here is to in picking horizon, certainly they can see the geological features. Yeah. So by having that understanding, we can teach machine learning. Now they cannot predict only trace; they have to predict geological features. To have representation of geological features, we have to have like a small cube, yeah, to compare with the with other cube to see where is the most similar one with our cube that we have a seed point in it. So we can iterate it from top to bottom, from inline to inline, from cross line to cross line until we finish the interpretation. Here, for example, the black point here is the initial seed point. Then we ask machine learning to predict that this event. So we can grab the cube here near the seed point to predict the adjacent segment, yeah, by having by searching from top to bottom and searching the most similar cube. So we can use any kind of machine learning algorithm. In this case, I use 3D cosine similarity, yeah, to check the quality of the similarity. And this is the result of the predicted surface, yeah. And we have very reasonable result, yeah. As you see here in the previous slide, the one that we have white area here is in the area that we limit. We cannot continue the prediction if the correlation less than certain percentage. And last one, we also have some challenge here to utilize the micro earthquake to predict the distribution of fracture. Yeah, when we have fracturing activities, we have to measure what is the direction and distribution of the fracture. So we can utilize micro earthquake event, yeah, in the subsurface that has been induced by fracturing activities, and we can set some tools on the surface to measure the micro earthquake. But the challenge is the quality of the data set is not we expected, because in the site, yeah, the area is very noisy, very the data quality is quite poor, yeah, with a lot of noise from surrounding, from drilling activities, from cars, from anything. So we utilize machine learning, yeah, to clean up the data set, the noisy data set, until we have this clean information. So once we have very nice event like this one, so compared to the previous one, we can predict the arrival times of the event. Once we have the arrival time and we have position of the receiver, we can predict where is the fracture is located. So this is the animation by measuring several events, yeah, on the surface. We can check, we can see the fracture activities in the subsurface, so we can have idea where is the fracture orientation and fracture distribution. I think this is the last slides I can share tonight. I encourage you, if you are interested in machine learning, you have to get familiar with Python. Python is free, yeah, no charge, and has been established since 90s, yeah. So a lot of discussion on the in the internet, yeah, about Python. A lot of libraries we can use, and we see here like big enterprise, yeah, like NASA, like Google, YouTube, like Reddit. Yeah. They use Python to support their activities. And also this one is the free library that is suitable for us, yeah, for geoscientists. Mostly we can use NumPy, we can use Matplotlib for plotting, Pandas very nice for like columnar dataset. For machine learning, we can use scikit-learn. This is a lot of state-of-the-art tech method has been pushed to scikit-learn recently. If you are working with image like a fossil and so forth, you can use scikit-image to predict or to automate a fossil identification. And also you can use several data set, several framework from this is open, such as Hadoop, MySQL, NumPy, H5Py, Pandas, and Data Shader. If you are working with cloud. So this is an example of the one that we develop using Python to create to generate software for spectral decomposition. So we have launched the softwares named Clearton here. Is our collaboration with our university and Pertamina Research. So we see here compared to other software, I think the result is quite similar and to some extent is more superior. So this is this demonstrate that even though Python is free, it doesn't mean it is not powerful. We can still use it and utilize it to support our work. So in summary, I have some points here. The first is there are abundance of potential of implementing AI in geoscience because of its flexibility and free. And also the most important thing is data cleansing, preconditioning, is required before we do AI, garbage in, garbage out. Also, uniqueness of AI features, again, target is one of key success. In some cases, AI is more superior compared to conventional techniques, or existing software, because existing software is mainly designed for data with common problem. If we have uniqueness, we have unique problem. Like what Fatma said in the beginning, like we have like multiple with very neat and challenging, so we can use AI or our Python to code to adjust the code so that can complement with our challenge. Certainly, expert QC on the result is required to control the result, and also the automation of labor intense intense job is viable by utilizing open sources like Python. I remember at the first time I came to Kuwait back to 2011. We have some tasks from our supervisor to edit velocity file in using text editor. It's very time consuming and very boring. So we can automate it, make it automatic by creating code. So previously we have to spend like weeks or months to finish the job. So by creating code, we can have the result in hours or even in minutes. So I think that's all what I can share. So hopefully it can inspire all of us, and get motivation to utilize AI in geoscience. I think I will return to Fatma. Thank you, Fatma.
Thank you so much, Dr. Agus. Very informative and interesting subject. If you have any questions, you can maybe write it in the chat box, or You can raise your hand and ask it. And I'll ask the first question actually. Can we know if there's any constraints or challenges related to using AI, especially in the processing field?
Yeah. AI in processing field, in my opinion, just like a Ferrari without brake. So we have to be careful. It can be very powerful, but it can be deadly. So I think we have we see some potential, yeah, in there, but still we have to be careful with the result because it can be wild. So especially in denoising, but in other area like first break picking or maybe auto tracking, something like that is very powerful and less risk, Fatma.
Very good, Mr. Hisham. You can ask your question.
Thank you, Fatma. Am I audible?
Yeah, Hisham.
Dr. Agus, nifty performance, nifty talk. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. It's more like having food for thought to stimulate discussion, and I need your stab on a few thoughts here from your vast experience coding and applying it on real projects. For the fluid detection, do you think we still can fit attributes such as scaled Poisson's ratio and multiplication of intercept and gradients in our workflow? Do you see it's still valuable to compare it to any products coming out from machine learning? This is one point down. Another thing, how far we are from the implementation of a language model, specifically when we try to come up with decisions. Now we're talking about business drivers and technical drivers. The implementation of transfer learning and graph-based and generative adversarial network to be very close to either language model or a large language model. Another point, since you have nicely showed us the interpretation, the horizons interpretations, and you came up with some nice products related to some heavy oil project. I'm just curious on whether you attempt to try it on some of the stratigraphic framework, such as accurately interpreting the axis of the channel and the levees. I will keep it just up to this point for these items. And if you or any of the audience can share some of the experiences, I really appreciate your step. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Hisham. Well, very difficult to answer, yeah. The first is how is the degree of confidence, yeah, if we implement the machine learning to predict fluid, yeah. Fluid is very unique. In my opinion, it's still challenging, still difficult, to be honest. If we can, as a rule of thumb, we have to have unique relationship, yeah, between our input and our target. So if our input can have unique relationship or physical meaning of relationship, we can utilize machine learning. If not, forget about it, to be honest. So the one that I demonstrate, the water saturation is still a lot of debates in it, yeah, still of a discussion. But to some extent it works. To some extent it's not. Yeah, still we have to see the quality of the data set, the environment, yeah, and also what kind of fluid you are searching. So if we search for gas, certainly gas is more sounds, yeah, in terms of AVO. We can see a nice relationship between intercept, gradient, BV over VS, lambda rho, mu rho, and so forth as a fluid indicator. So we can utilize it to predict fluid. If we are speaking about oil is very difficult, still challenging. Sometimes works, sometimes not. I think, to be honest, just like that, Hisham. And the second one is about the how can we implement the pattern, the pattern of stratigraphic features. First, we have to create model. We have to create more model of levee or any kind of stratigraphic that we can train machine learning to predict the one that we want. So once we have model, so we can automate it for the entire volume, like the one that I show in the slide. Yeah. Yeah, here. So let me make it. I will copy it to this, so I can have big section. So now, so this is certainly this one is still in the big scale, to classify the behavior of the seismic pattern, using machine learning. Like this one, we have chaotic, in this area. We have low dipping with subparallel, dipping moderate to high amplitude, and so forth. So we can mimic, this kind of approach to be implemented in your case, like in predicting stratigraphic features in more details. Okay, how would that answer your question, Hisham? Did I answer everything?
Well said.
Or maybe you have experience?
Yes, it's very good. Just to the point of the language model, any experience with the GAN plus TL, transfer learning, especially for management when you try to convey a message related to uncertainty and risk? Any success of implementing the language model, and how far did you go on that?
To be honest, I have no idea about it, Hisham. Blind test is the key answer. So we can in geoscience we are using blind test to QC and to measure the degree of confidence of the result. So once we are successful in certain percentage of prediction, so we can go ahead to utilize the result to predict the unknown area. So I think again, blind test is very important to be used as your quality control. Hisham.
Thank you so much. Well said.
Thank you, Hisham. I think we have 2 or 3 more questions in the chat box, and then we have to wrap it up because I think the time is up. So Abdullah Kandiri is asking 2 questions. The first question is for the fault interpretation. How can we train the data so it can differentiate between signal and noise? And then the second question is, how reliable is the machine learning for frontier basin, and where the cases, the available data are limited?
Okay. Let me. Okay, I think. Okay, to train the model, we have to have several data, like this. We have to have both seismic model and fault model. So firstly, we have to store in our database like seismic dataset like this one. Okay, let me share mode. So we can put this one is our input, yeah, the seismic dataset, and the target is this one. Yeah, so we can interpret several data. If fault, we can give number 1. If non-fault, we can give number like 0, yeah, 1 and 0. So we can create lot of combination of fault. Once we have model, we can use it to predict outside area like this one. So how reliable? Again, it's depend on the quality of data set. Once human can see, yeah, the seismic data set, and certainly machine learning also can see. If we cannot see, we cannot distinguish, yeah, visually or numerically. So certainly machine learning can also see it. So I think we have implement this one to predict basin basin scale, yeah, in terms of fault distribution. Like, okay, this one is the one that our input, yeah, as a trainer. So we can give label. Yeah, this one is trainer plus label. Label is the one that we interpret manually. And then now we can get the label, yeah, the one that we have interpreted previously on the seismic dataset. We can take it. The red one is number 1, and the white one is 0. So now we can have trainer and label. So once we have trainer, so it must have something like this. So we can have hundreds and thousands of this one to be used in our data set. So this one is the result of the prediction. So the major event is predicted very well, but certainly we also have noises, but we can filter them out, yeah, with certain threshold of connectivity. So this one is the result. Yeah, and this one is the result for the entire cube. And this one is actually agree, yeah, with what they have in interpretation using a conventional technique. I think again the data quality is very important. Yeah, once we have very good and unique relationship between trainer and label, we can still utilize machine learning. Very good question.
Great, thank you so much. There's one more question. It's the last question. So Renato says we can see a lot of application of artificial intelligence in seismic processing and seismic imaging as well, as in seismic interpretation. In what could we use artificial intelligence in seismic acquisition other than first break picking?
Okay, in acquisition, yeah. Now we have challenge from one of Algiers company, Sonatrach, yeah, for deblending acquisition because deblending can reduce cost significantly, production costs. Yeah, we can reduce the time up to I don't know 75%. So now we are still exercising, still building the code to deblend the data set using machine learning, yeah, and also there are a lot of publication on it to separate the source, yeah, from one record of time. I believe, Fatma, a lot of room, to be tried, in any field, including acquisition, including parameterization and support, especially in processing, reservoir characterization, interpretation. So we have to see beyond what we have in our daily routine. So we have to try something else and can automate it and certainly can reduce costs in significant amount. To be honest, acquisition is not my field, but for now, I think I just believe there are a lot of room for acquisition and utilizing machine learning, Fatma.